Kia ora and welcome to this, my review of my teaching practice in 2018. This video will be comprised of 3 parts. The first part being a review of my professional development I undertook this year into flipped learning. Secondly, my inquiry and the process I went through and the data I collected and how it informed my practice. And lastly, a look back at 2017 and 2018 and how those 2 inquiries will inform my inquiry for 2019, implementing a gamification model. So, the professional development course that I attended was a course designed to get you certified as a level 1 flipped practitioner, and the key thing that they emphasized was that flipped learning allows you to reach every student in every class every day. Quite a profound goal, and one that I would love to be able to have achieved through this course. So before I start, I'd just like to acknowledge Matthew Lambert, who is a teacher at Herotanga College in the PE department. He's actually the HOD, and he was the facilitator of the course that I did on flipped learning. And that course was created by John Bergman, who is a world-renowned flipped practitioner and has created a load of courses to get you certified in those areas. So this is what flipped learning is. You can read that. This was from the Flipped Learning Global website. And there's a few key things that we'll go over in a second from this. But firstly, why would I want to adopt a flipped approach to my teaching? Well, I'd like to ask you that question, and we'll just go and view a few images that might spark some things that I would like to change in my own practice. So, why should I adopt a flipped approach to my teaching? Well, something I've noticed within my own students is that they're very good at regurgitating content. And I would love them to go that extra mile and get that deeper learning. A good way of showing this is through Bloom's taxonomy. And if you know anything about Bloom's, you know that the foundation of the pyramid is about remembering and understanding content. Moving further up that pyramid, you start to apply and analyze, and then that top cohort of your class might eventually be able to evaluate and create new ideas and projects based on what they've learned leading up to that stage. However, something inherently wrong with this pyramid is that I think it is upside down, and that we should want the foundation of our students to be that they can create because they manage to evaluate and analyze and apply what they've learned, and that shouldn't be where they spend most of their time. It should be the other way around. Through flipped learning, you're asked this question: what is the best use of face-to-face class time with your students? This is quite an eye-opener, because before this course, this is what my classroom looked like. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this, but it's quite powerful if you think about it through these contexts. That many of our students have had this way of teaching throughout all of their school. It is a method of teaching that is not just exclusive to New Zealand. Or to schools in general, at any level, or any occupation. And most shockingly, this method of teaching as a teacher-centered teacher has been around for probably as long as schools have been around. So there are 3 main types of a flipped classroom. Firstly, you have your traditional flipped, where students watch videos at home and come to class having pre-learned the content. You've got your in-flip model where maybe students have less access to digital technology, so you get them to watch the video in their individual space in the class before coming into a group activity. And finally, you have a flipped mastery system where you have levels where students can't access the next level until they have shown mastery in the level before. Now, I just showed you lots of pictures of the teacher-centered model, a model that I have been using for the last couple of years. And this would be my general classroom practice. You'd have that sort of 5-minute intro, maybe recap some prior learning, then go into delivering new content, and hopefully, if I've got enough time, do a learning task or prepare them for the experiment that I've had to teach them all the content for this lesson for. So while there's nothing inherently wrong with that, I just want you to consider maybe some of the inequalities that we have in our classes. Now, I've used these words, individual space and group space. Individual space is where a student is by themselves or, does their learning without any interaction with anyone else. And this is the sort of space that we would give them to watch their videos in. This can be done at home or, as you can see in the pictures, in class on a device. When we talk about group space, this is where we can create some really cool activities that allow our classes to come together, interact, and really start going into that deeper level of learning. John Bergman talks about flipped learning being the meta strategy, the strategy that allows far more deeper learning and access to all of these other buzzwordy things in education at the moment, particularly in New Zealand. Project-based learning, inquiry, being cross-curricular passion projects, and design thinking. What allows these to happen at a much higher level, because you're giving more time to the students to actually engage with them, is the ability to learn the content in that individual space and spend more time in the group. So I talked about some of those inequalities in a classroom. Well, because you've got more time in class, one-on-one time with your students, more time to interact with them and create cool activities, you're building those foundation relationships. You're building your relationships with your students, which allows you to have better rapport with them and basically be seen to actually care about them at a far greater level than you standing up the front having to deliver content. You can design some really cool activities, and through my inquiry I'd hope to show you some of those. And it sort of stops this inactive classroom. One of the most profound things is that homework completely changes. No longer are you giving those worksheets that they get stuck on, and the research shows that homework actually is increasing. Them doing homework increases with flipped learning. Allows you to differentiate, and your classroom management becomes a lot more sort of smoother, with the ability to chunk a lot easier, jumping between individual and group space. And because videos, as you'll see soon, can be stopped, slowed down, rewound, your ESOL learners find it much more accessible than you standing up the front teaching. And finally, and particularly this word differentiation, that word that a lot of teachers struggle with, and I certainly have, is that the ability to differentiate your class takes on a whole new meaning. Because you've got more time with your students, you can either assist those that need more help, let those run that want to just go on ahead, and because you've got more time once you've made all your videos, you can really start creating different level tasks, and it makes that accessibility for all your students far greater. So these are the global standards for flipped learning that I hope to incorporate into my practice.